Hello, everybody. My name is Lauren Gerhart, and this is week 4 of Judicial Procedure. This week, we're going to be analyzing tort reform, its dimensions, and impact on Kentuckians. So let's get started. Debate over tort reform in Kentucky, as well as across the country, usually involve these 3 types of torts, and that is medical malpractice, product liability, and punitive damages. So we're going to be talking about those. So, medical malpractice torts include the negligent or intentional torts in healthcare that often result in severe injury or death, including but not limited to failure to diagnose, surgical errors, and failure to obtain proper consent. A lot of these cases sue hospitals as a whole, but also can be specifically nurses and doctors, and they often result in both monetary and punitive damage compensatory. The second one is product liability. It refers to the manufacturer, distributor, or seller of an unsafe or defective product that may be found liable for injury, resulting if that product was at fault. So the last one is punitive damages. These are designed to punish parties who have engaged in behavior including reckless actions or willful or gross negligence. And these types of torts are often targeted by reformers. So these tort areas have a number of influence over businesses, individuals, and the legal system in Kentucky in general. In terms of healthcare, it's argued by healthcare providers that and insurance companies that the higher the cost of liability for malpractice, the higher it will be for operating costs. Therefore, they're more likely to engage in defensive medical practices, and also it reduces the availability and the affordability of healthcare services. Now, on the business side, manufacturers and distributors will point out that being exposed to these potential liability from products will increase their insurance and also could discourage them from developing new products. On the individual side, however, it's a little bit more positive. It does give a person the means to obtain financial compensation for an injury. The state constitution in, I believe, Section 54 prohibits the legislature from placing caps on the amount of money an individual can receive from these, but it makes reform in Kentucky a little more difficult than, say, other states. So now we're going to talk about the supporters of tort reform. So there are many interest groups that are active in tort reform in Kentucky, 3 of them being insurance companies, medical professionals, and businesses. So first is insurers. So many insurers say that limits on liability, like caps with regard to Section 54, changing that statute will allow them to better predict and manage risk. Therefore, they'll lower the cost for policyholders within those insurances. And it obviously, their intentions come from financial benefit. So the second group is medical professionals in healthcare, which also side with insurance purposes there. The Kentucky Medical Association supports medical liability reform by stating that the fear of these cases discourages doctors from practicing medicine in Kentucky, which increases the cost of providing health care. Lastly, other supporters include businesses and corporate interests, which include large companies and other businesses with potential exposure to product liability. An example is that there are many tort reform associations like the ATRA, and while they don't focus exclusively on like issues related to Kentucky, they work to promote legislative and regulatory changes that reduce the amount of liability for corporations who are at risk for being sued.